Chapter 23 Naked in America, 1985. The difference between a man and a warrior is that a warrior takes everything as a challenge, while an ordinary man takes everything as a blessing or a curse. Carlos Castañeda. "Damn, it's cold," I said, touching the water. The Tijuana River discharged into Tijuana Beach, ending into the Pacific Ocean. Under the cover of this cold December night, I was trying it again. I was trying to get over the border, illegally. It was getting old. However, this dark and creepy night was still the perfect night for one more of my many attempts to come to the US. This time, I could try to cross the border between Tijuana and Imperial Beach, a suburb of San Diego. "Shut up! The asshole Negras can hear us a mile away. They have radars and dogs and shit," said Lani, the female coyote, our human smuggler. She was in charge of getting me and the group of Mexican illegals over the border. Under the cover of the monumental bull ring in Playas de Tijuana, Lani helped the group of cold and fearful young illegals jump the rusty and decaying fence, which represented not only the boundary it stood for, but also the illusion of the American dream. "Take it off," commanded Lani. "Take it off and seal it in the plastic bag." "Take what off?" I asked, confused. "Your clothes, pendejo. Take off your clothes," said another illegal forcefully. Hiding in the harsh bushes and coarse sand, we could smell the stench of burned gasoline coming from the Border Patrol vehicles. I was scared at the thought of dogs being unleashed on me. It made the hairs on the back of my neck prickle, especially when I heard the customs officers' angry and loud voices coming closer and closer. The sound of their feet shuffling and their slick batoons poking through the bushes trying to find unwelcome aliens. I wonder if this is how the original Border Patrol treated immigrants, I thought. Freeze the story. "The original Border Patrol," said Mr. Cadena, "the Tarascans, the Purepecha-speaking people, and the Aztecs, the Nahuatl-speaking people, of pre-Columbian America, had been some of the first people to guard their territory. After they had conquered or invaded weaker tribes, they kept their borders safe. There was no United States of America. There was no Mexico, no Central or South America. Although the indigenous and Belgic people didn't know it, it was just America. Go back in time with me. Think for a moment of the next conversation between two Aztecs," said the historian. "Tepehuani, conquistadores. They are Tepehuani," said the Nahuatl-speaking Aztec hunter. "Huilotic, it is written that the Spaniards will matcha. They will teach the great Aztec warriors," answered the other Aztec hunter. "Smells like Cuetlatli, Huitlal, wolf excrement," the Aztec hunter said, touching, smelling, and rubbing with his fingers the dry and brown matter. "Amo Catixquetal, Calpoli. No, this shit is from a Spanish tribe," retorted the others suspiciously. Aztec warriors, the original Border Patrol, had been warned not to bother, but to treat aliens with respect. The Nahuatl-speaking Aztec Empire was rapidly growing, and therefore the Aztec Emperor had told his people not to use unnecessary rudeness with conquered tribes. Conquered people would be respected. They could keep their customs as long as they paid taxes. Back to my story. My fear of being caught was greater than the shyness of being naked, so I took my clothes off. It was time to cross. It was time to swim the sewage-smelling Tijuana River. I remember watching the news saying that people drowned and died trying to cross this river, especially when it was raining. because of water coming from the mountains, the city's sewage, and the runoff water systems going all at the same time into the Tijuana River. It felt like a flash flood times 100. "Oh shit! This current is going to drag us down to the ocean!" screamed one of the immigrants. "Shut up, assholes!" said Lani. "Shut up, or I'll leave you pendejos right here!" Lani was a truly badass. She had a spine of steel. Yeah, she seemed to have more guts than a lot of badasses I'd met in my life. Oh my god, I thought, swimming with one hand and holding my clothes in a plastic bag above water with the other, while being dragged by the treacherous and strong river current, moving rapidly towards the dark and colossal Pacific Ocean. Freeze the story. I was so scared that my thoughts went back to my 8th grade classroom, to my history teacher. As usual, I wandered away every time I was in danger. The first human beings that anthropologists know appear first in Africa? About 200,000 years, Mr. Cadena said authoritatively. "That cannot be, teacher," said Rodolfo, sure of himself. He loved debating, even when he didn't know what he was talking about. Who would have ever thought that later in life he became a powerful criminal defense lawyer in Mexico City? "Do tell, Rodolfo. Please do tell. I'm always open to discovering new things," said the teacher sarcastically. "Well, if the first humans came from Africa, why aren't we all black? How come there are blonde people in other colors too?" said Rodolfo defiantly. "Great observation, Rodolfo," said the teacher, seemingly impressed. "When African people moved to North Europe, their skin color became whiter for lack of sun exposure. So over a long period of time, their skin turned white," Mr. Cadena concluded with the certainty of a world-class anthropologist. Back to my story. The Tijuana River was as angry as a teenager who just cracked her iPhone. The waters were stampeding like a mob out of control. The water levels were so high that the river was wider than usual. It looked like the width of a football field. All of us illegals were swimming and trading water as fast as a fat kid chasing an ice cream cart. We could feel the undercurrent dragging us, like octopus tentacles pulling us to the threatening and angry Pacific Ocean. Lani, I think Pedro drowned. I think he was dragged down," I screamed. "Do you know what shut up means?" I said. "Shut up, they will hear us," said Lani. "Make sure you get yourself safe to the other side, then you worry about the others." Following the coyote's instructions was of the utmost importance. Our safe border crossing depended on it. Right now, all we had to do was to hold on to our bunched up clothes high above water, with one hand to keep them from getting wet, and swim as fast as we could with the free hand. The water was cold, dirty, and stinky. Damn it, I blurted out through my clenched teeth. I just swallowed water. Drinking that water from the Tijuana River was as if I had just swallowed a cup of shit. No, worse than that. It felt as if I just had swallowed a gulp of the Tijuana's river, discharged humanity of its millions of inhabitants. This was one of those times when I went berserk. I had just eaten shit, and it wasn't the proverbial crap either. This was one of those times where I had to take a mental break. I had to, so I went back in time. Freeze this story. About 14,000 years, the Aztecs and the Tarascan's ancestors came from the north, said Cadena, with his usual academic demeanor. I don't know about that, teacher, said Sergio in disbelief. How do they come from Africa? They came through the Bering Strait, a frozen ice and land bridge connecting Russia and Alaska, said Cadena in a canton. Were the Aztecs' ancestors warriors too? Asked Gonzalo. Look, kids, the first Native Americans were hunters and gatherers. They moved from place to place looking for resources, mostly food and water. The Aztecs' ancestors were a nomadic tribe that traveled from North America to what is known as Mexico. According to their beliefs, they would walk and walk until they saw an eagle eating a serpent. This was their heavenly sign to settle and become the great empire they were destined to be. The Aztecs were a great civilization. There must have been close to 250,000 people living in Tenochtitlan, their sacred city. Cadena finished. Back to my story. The freezing current and the imminent threat of being dragged into the open sea brought me back to my cold, stinky, and dangerous situation. I was still in the water. However, I fought my way across that river as desperate as a drowning iguana swimming away from a scorpion. Because I was wet when I crawled out of the water, the wind chill factor felt like knives going through the marrow of my strong and hard bones. Coming up the bank of the river on the beach, like Michelangelo's David, I stood tall and naked. There was an ever-present fear of being shot by armed officers who could shoot any time and for any reason. I felt exposed and vulnerable, not just physically, but also emotionally. I was an unwelcome and illegal stranger in a strange land, an illegal in his own land, an illegal in the land of his ancestors. "Don't!" hissed Lanny. "Don't put your clothes back on yet." "Why the hell not?" one of the shaking pollos screamed. "It's freaking freezing up in here. I'm wet, I'm cold, and I'm naked. I need to put my clothes back on." "Do that and they'll definitely know you're a wetback when we get to Imperial Beach," said Lanny. "I dare you, pendejo. I double dare you. Put your clothes back on." Once dried by the chilling wind, as I was putting my clothes back on, a blinding spotlight came upon my shaken and naked body. My worst nightmare came true. I was caught naked by a beautiful female officer. She came into view and asked me to surrender. Not only was I defeated, exposed, and humiliated, I also knew I was going to be sent back across the border from whence I came. While crawling military style from Tijuana Beach to Imperial Beach on the US side, we came to a sudden and abrupt stop when we were surrounded by helicopters, four-wheelers, SUVs, and what looked like the entire Border Patrol Army. "We've been watching you all the way, even before you took your clothes off, güerito," the beautiful female border agent said suggestively. "¿Qué? ¿Qué dijo? What did she say?" I asked Lanny. "Tell him I like how he crawled, how he swam, but I liked it more when he came out of the water," said the female agent, smiling and looking at me. You might ask, what happened then? Well, this was a repeat of every time they caught me. This time, like the other times I've been caught, they took us to the holding tank in San Isidro, the border town with Tijuana. Once in that small jail, they gave us a sandwich and a choice of milk or juice. Then, as soon as it was morning, they put us on a bus and sent us back to Tijuana. Wait a minute, you might ask, if they got our name and personal information. Well, yes, but the problem was, for the officers anyway, was that every time I was caught, I gave a different name. What name? Simple. Pancho Villa, Emiliano Zapata, Che Guevara, etc. Did I try crossing the border again? You bet. Yes, I did. I did it so many times I lost count. Was I able to come over the border this way? No. I was never able to go across the border this way.
Juan, Colorado me llaman, soy señores de Michoacán. Hasta los más salidones al mirarme muchos se van. Traigo mi cuerpo una silla que es de cuero, plata y marfil. Al ciento para que quede rendir, que viva mi tierra Michoacán y déme charanda para brindar, que Juan Colorado ya está aquí, montado en su cueco en huracán. Cuando me encuentro resuelto que de frente quiera pelear, con mi pistola y machete por mi suerte yo he de ganar. Que viva mi tierra Michoacán y déme charanda para brindar, que Juan Colorado ya se va, montado en su cuenco en huracán.